Aaron.
Yeah.
Why didn't you say it the first time I said Aaron?
Because it's pronounced Aaron?
You done messed up, Aaron!
Aaron is here. Welcome back, everyone, for more SPTV, where every day's a great day not to be in a cult. Okay, today we're going to talk a little bit about Amy Bradley. There was a Netflix documentary recently about her going missing on a cruise ship about 20-some years ago. Her brother, after the Netflix documentary aired, started tweeting some information about his suspicion regarding Scientology's role in his sister's disappearance. He also started tweeting about having already spoken about all of this to the FBI, that the FBI didn't do anything or investigate or follow up. He put some information on Twitter about having discussed all of this with the documentary crew. The documentary crew did not leave any of that information or questions or discussion about his suspicions or their strange interactions with Scientology Sea Org members. They cut it all out of the documentary. A bunch of people were tagging me on Twitter with this stuff. Brad Bradley. Brad Bradley is Amy Bradley's. I hope I didn't say a wrong name there. Brad Bradley is Amy Bradley's brother. He and I spoke on the phone at length about his questions regarding Scientology. He also spoke on the phone with a number of other ex-Scientologists. And yet questions about Amy and Scientology continue to come up, partly due to Brad continuing to make statements and ask questions about this. So to discuss this with me more this morning, I have the one and only Jenna Miscavige. Hi, Jenna.
Hi. Hi, everyone.
Okay, so the reason that we're talking about this morning is, and actually before I forget, let me just show everyone. Where is it? Where is it? Oh, here it is. Here is Jenna Miscavige's YouTube channel. You can find her there at Jenna Miscavige and also on TikTok at Jenna Miscavige. Okay, so the reason that we're talking about this morning is because you're going to do a TikTok video about this today.
Right.
And so we're going to throw back and forth some information, some questions, some conclusions about the Amy Bradley, Brad Bradley situation to help prep for exactly what you want to say in the TikTok video. So this has gotten a little strange. Where would you like to begin?
Well, I myself have not spoken to Brad Bradley. I did have a brief I don't know if it's called DM on TikToks, whatever, message on TikTok with him. And I thought it went well. You know, he was really sweet. I feel like I was sweet to him. And then he posted something on Twitter a while back that I thought it was just like a little bit surprising after after just the brief conversation we had. Like in the conversation, he was like, "Oh, great. Thank you so much." And then I can't remember the exact wording of his tweet, but it was a little bit like, it was something along the lines of, they haven't really given me or they haven't really told me much else. He sort of said he spoke to, I mean, you can just read it. Do you want me to?
You want me to pull up that particular tweet?
Yeah, that would be great.
Okay, give me a second here.
Okay.
Because yeah.
So
all right,
in
well,
it,
here we go.
Okay.
Here's the one tweet that we're talking about. Okay, so Brad says, I spoke with Aaron several weeks ago. Although he agreed that it was highly unusual, the Scientology Sea Org members, would have come to our hotel room at midnight, the night of Amy's disappearance. His opinion was that it would be unlikely they had anything to do with her disappearance. He was nice enough, but didn't offer much else. I also communicated with Claire Headley via email and spoke to Valeska Paris and Tony Ortega. They all pretty much said the same thing. I later reached out to Jenna Miscavige, and she told me that she is married to Aaron Smith Levin and didn't have anything more that she could help me with.
Yeah, so it's funny because I was in the room when Aaron was on the phone with Brad, who you spoke to, I would say, for at least an hour.
At least an hour.
Yeah, and did you speak to him many times?
It was just the one time we had messaged back and forth a bunch of times.
Okay.
But yeah, we spoke on the phone for literally at least an hour, where I answered any and every question he could possibly have about Scientology and the
Right.
Sea Org members who came to his door and what they would have been doing and why people from the ship would have been doing that, and answered every question under the sun until he had nothing more he wanted to say or ask.
Right, exactly. Yes. I remember you were very nice to him, and then also, hearing that he spoke with Claire and Valeska Paris, who would have been on the ship at that time. I mean, there's like almost nothing more that could possibly be said about it. And so when Brad reached out to me, I said, Aaron's my boyfriend, meaning like I don't have any more information than he does. And because I actually was in the room when he was talking to him, and he was like, oh, say hi to Aaron. That's great. And then he kind of posted that thing. And I'm like, I'm not sure what to make of it. Like,
Well, here's where it gets, here's why this is weird. Because, okay, first of all, nobody would love for Scientology to be involved in Amy Bradley's disappearance more than me, Claire Headley, and Valeska Paris. Okay.
right.
If
What about
I could
me?
do
I guess.
well, I'm sure you as well. Yeah. But you didn't speak to him. That's what I mean.
Right. I see. Okay. Yeah. I see what you mean.
So it's like for if I could do 100 videos about Scientology being actually complicit in the disappearance of a woman that was just in a Netflix show, you better believe I would do that. So
Right.
like, it's almost like he's sort of implying, well, the ex-Scientologists weren't really very forthcoming. It's like, no, what we were doing was being as honest and straightforward with you as any human being could possibly be regarding the likelihood of the Scientology Sea Org members on Scientology's cruise ship, the Freewinds, having been involved in abducting your sister off of a commercial cruise liner and holding her prisoner and hostage for the last 20 years with no signs of life and no communication. It's like you couldn't have been speaking to better people to get that information.
Right. Yes.
And then after publicly thanking all of us for finally answering the questions he's never been able to get answered about Scientology, he then comes back like 6 weeks later and is like, I tried to talk to them and they were slightly helpful. And yeah, they were nice, but they didn't really give me much more than that. It's like, this is where I started to go, what exactly is your deal? What exactly are you trying to do here? Like, and just to share it with the audience, let me show the public tweet of him really thanking all of us for finally being able to get the questions answered he'd never been able to get answered before. So let's look at this. Okay, July 21st. Since starting this page a few days ago, and after receiving a ton of suggestions from everyone on here, I've been in contact with Aaron Levin Smith. I guess later he said my name correctly. Aaron Smith Levin from Growing Up in Scientology, Tony Ortega, Claire Headley, and Valeska Paris. They have each individually explained to me that they think the possibility of Amy being taken onto the Freewinds by any measure would be extremely unlikely. Claire Headley was in a high-ranking position at the time on the Freewinds ship and says she does not remember anything unusual, nor does she remember hearing anything about it or seeing Amy. Valeska Paris said the same thing. They were both on the Freewinds at the time. Now, I know this isn't the main point, but did Claire Headley ever work on the Freewinds?
Not that I'm aware of. I mean, what year was it?
Let me search real quick. What year did Amy Bradley go missing? 1998.
Okay, so just for reference, I would have only been 14 when this happened. I was nowhere near the Freewinds. And so the idea of me like even knowing something about it is kind of ridiculous. But Claire, I believe, she was definitely in Clearwater in 1996, and she was definitely at the Int base in 1998. So
Claire was never posted at the Freewinds. This could just be a misunderstanding from Brad.
Yeah.
If perchance Claire had been sent to the Freewinds for an event or a project for a short amount of time, I've literally never heard Claire talk about being on the Freewinds, but that doesn't, I've never even heard mention even being on the Freewinds, much less being posted on the Freewinds.
Right. Yeah.
But it's possible that she was there, but it's not possible that she was posted there.
Right. Like I remember even when Claire was at Flag in 96, she was in training to be the RTC rep for CC, for Celebrity Center. So I would be surprised if she was on the Freewinds.
That's right. And I remember Claire saying somewhat recently that other than the time she was sent to Flag to train to be an RTC rep, almost all of her time in the Sea Org was actually spent at the int base. That is what I remember her saying recently.
Right. Yeah.
Okay, but let's carry on. I know that's not the main point.
Mhm.
It could be a simple misunderstanding on Brad's part.
Mhm.
Okay. Yeah, here we go. So basically, he spoke to Valeska. He spoke to Claire. They were both in the free winds at the time. They all, however, all say that it is really weird that those two guys came to our room in the hotel that night. They explained their methods, and they all felt that the methods I described sound in line with what they do in those situations where they're counseling people with grief and loss, and may have well been just trying to help us, however weird the situation may have been. I've been languishing over this theory for years, and it is nice to finally get some level of satisfaction through answers to many questions that have gone unanswered for so many years. I am grateful that these people cared enough to spend the time to talk to me and explain their thoughts on the matter. I hate that my alternate theory to the ones that predominate may have been off base and cast aspersions on Scientology unjustifiably, and I want to apologize if my long-held suspicions were simply untrue. Thank you to each one of those people that took the time to reach out to me and all of you who helped get me to them. Now I think I have been satisfied enough that the chance that Amy was taken onto that ship and or into Scientology is close enough to zero to put it to bed. Again, I can't say enough how awesome it has been to see so many people from around the world contact me and try to help. It's truly amazing to realize how much people care and what social media can do. What is most important right now is that somebody knows what happened, and it's time for them to find it within themselves to come forward and tell what they know. Okay, so there we go. That's a genuine, felt like a genuine thank you.
Mhm.
And to go from thanking everyone for finally answering the questions he's had for all these years and understanding that the possibility of this happening is close to zero, to fast forward from that to be like, you know, he was nice, but
Yes, and
he didn't really offer much else.
yeah.
And I'm sorry to do all the talking here, but there's missing context on Twitter that people I haven't provided all the context, like some to explain why I seem to have a little bit of a chip on my shoulder about this. After spending all this time speaking to Brad, and after knowing that Valeska Paris and Claire Headley also spent all this time speaking to Brad, I then, after this, got screenshots of other ex-Scientologists weeks after I spoke to Brad, screenshots from other ex-Scientologists of messages from Brad urgently asking to speak with them about the disappearance of his sister and acting like it was still something that had never been addressed. Meaning not like, hey, how would I put this? The messages to these people acted as fresh and as urgent as the messages from when he had never spoken to any ex-Scientologist before. And it started to make me go, wait a second, what are you doing exactly? Like,
Right.
your questions have either been answered or they haven't been answered. And, you know, feel free to talk to whoever you want to talk to as many times as you want to talk. But what he puts out on Twitter and his messages to other ex-Scientologists continue to make it seem like no one has given him the information he's been looking for. When the truth is, at least 3 ex-Scientologists who very much know what they're talking about have already given him literally every piece of information he was looking for. Why does he keep going from person to person to person, trying to have the exact same conversation? And then why does he go on Twitter acting like people just aren't being helpful to him?
Right. Yeah. And I can't put my finger on if it's like, you know, if it's because he's traumatized or if it's because he needs someone to talk to about it or what. But the reality is that, like you said before, like it would, like if Scientology did truly have something to do with Amy Bradley going missing, it's not something we would shy away from. It's like
No.
we could almost be considered very biased against them. But the idea, like, meaning like Scientology would have you or I disappeared before they would have a random person who has nothing to do with Scientology, before they would like they haven't actually murdered anybody? Have they been implicated in some like high profile deaths? Yes, but they haven't actually gone so far as to murder anybody. And so it's just a bit bizarre, and it makes me question the intentions behind it. And I want to give him the benefit of the doubt and just be like, he's traumatized, but he's also not the only person who has lost like a sibling. And it's just a bit of odd behavior, and how it's in private. It's like, oh, thank you so much in the messages he sent me. And then it's like just something totally different publicly. I just don't understand what's going on.
Yeah. Yes. And what's interesting is, he doesn't think Scientology murdered his sister. He doesn't think his sister's dead even. So that's almost what makes it even more unlikely, is that his hypothesis is that somehow Scientology Sea Org members from the ship decided they wanted Amy Bradley to join them, somehow abducted Amy Bradley off of this giant, I was going to say Carnival cruise ship, but I don't know if it was a Carnival, but one of these massive cruise ships.
Right.
And basically have taken her as one of their own. Now, Brad doesn't or did not understand Scientology enough to know the difference between public, staff, or Sea Org members, or what the role of the Free Winds cruise ship is in Scientology, that they don't recruit non-Scientologists on that ship. It's not even something that's a thing. It doesn't exist. Like,
Right.
maybe they would let Scientologists come on board to take a tour or for a little PR event, but you can't join Scientology on the ship. If they were desperate for members, they would get them from other pools of Scientologists. They wouldn't, and also
Right.
Amy Bradley was either gay or bisexual, even in a imaginary world where the cruise ship where the Free Ones wanted to recruit people. Once they found out that she was gay or bisexual, they'd be like, okay, we're done with you. Like,
Right. That's true. Yeah.
especially to be a Sea Org member. When I spoke to Brad, I did not approach it from the perspective of, hey, listen, you're wrong. Let me explain to you why.
Right.
I said, hey, look, anything is possible, but let me explain to you why this is very unlikely. But like, I wasn't even trying to force it down his throat that this, what he thought happened didn't happen. I was like, let me explain to you what the Sea Org is. Let me
Right.
explain to you. I'm like, you tell me what happened, and I'm going to give you the best explanation for why that would have happened that way.
Exactly. Yeah. You said, tell me what happened. And then I remember he said something about how like they had the cruise ship he was on had asked them if they wanted a chaplain.
Mm-hmm.
And
right.
so they had sort of like potentially put out a call for this, and Scientology was the closest religious organization nearby. And so they came and tried to help in their weird way.
That's right. That's right. And so for some of the people not quite familiar with what's been put out there regarding why the suspicion of Scientology is, the night of her disappearance, or the night before her disappearance, she was seen speaking to two Black women dressed in what Brad believed, later believed, sounded like two Scientology Sea Org uniforms. Now, in reality, what Brad described to me would not have been any of the Sea Org uniforms they would have been wearing on the Free Winds at that time. But again, I'm just, it's like, and you go, okay, so then was that it? No, that wasn't it. So later, after Brad's sister went missing from the boat, the family got off the boat and was staying at a hotel on the island. And at midnight, two officers from the Free Winds Scientology ship knocked on their door.
Right.
And they were sent there in response to someone's request for a chaplain.
Right. And they were wearing whites, which is normally what the Free Winds staff would wear. It's like
bingo. They were wearing
military
whites. They were wearing whites, and the two Black women that he was describing to me, their uniforms would have been more like blues.
Right.
And also, there simply aren't two Black women working on the Scientology cruise ship, nor would there have been 20 years ago when Amy disappeared.
Right. Right. Exactly.
Scientology's the one of the whitest things that's ever existed, and the
Right.
cruise ship is even whiter than the rest of Scientology.
Right. With dress whites on top of that.
That's right. And the more he explained it to me, the more I was like, wow, Scientology gets itself into some weird ass situations just because of their weirdness.
Right.
It sort of cracked me up that their strange and odd behavior and practices and their interest in PR over anything else led them to this thing where they're basically under suspicion for the disappearance of a high profile disappearance of someone from 20 years ago that's been featured in a Netflix documentary. And I'm also thinking to myself, I'm thinking what the producers were thinking, and in the editing room, the producers and the editors, as they're like, do we keep in the Scientology stuff? Do we not keep in the Scientology stuff? Because it seems like it would have been very great for the documentary to leave it in.
Yeah, but I wonder if it also would have sound made up. And because he talks about how they gave him and his father or one of them a nervous cyst, which can sound, which is really weird. But if you grew up in Scientology, it's like a totally normal thing. But I could see how otherwise it would sound like someone's just making it up. Like it's insane. And Brad said, like, yeah, the second they put their hands on us, we were like, please leave.
That's right. That's right. And as strange as it is for two Sea Org officers to show up and try to give nervous cysts to the family of a young woman who just disappeared, like my instinct is like, yeah, that's weird. And then I have to remind myself, wait, it's not any more weird than showing up to a place where the volunteer ministers show up to where like disaster workers are doing their jobs and just randomly offering them nervous cysts in the volunteer minister tent. Like that is also weird.
Right.
And yet Scientology is known for doing that.
Right, exactly. Yeah. And I mean, a nervous cyst is like sort of like a Scientology massage. And so they would be doing it at like disaster sites because if their body is tired, or it would just be to help make them feel better or revitalize them. So I could see them being like, if you've been up for nights, we can do this nervous cyst to help you relax. That would be
And
the
they don't work, by the
Scientologist
way.
intention. What?
They don't work, by the way, in my experience.
Yeah, they don't work unless you're sleep deprived and you go to sleep because you are laying down when you get the nervous cyst.
You know, that's a really good point. They do help you fall asleep. I have fallen asleep in many a nervous cyst.
Yeah, but I wonder if it's because I was already so tired or because the nervous system
Exactly.
makes you go to sleep. Yeah.
Exactly. The problem with getting a nervous cyst as a way to fall asleep, to be clear, that's not what they're used for. That's not what they're intended for, is that you have to turn over like every 30 seconds. And that's how you know when you've fallen asleep, because the person giving you the assist has to constantly wake you up to get you to turn over.
I think it's part of the plan. It must be like, okay, everyone falls asleep, so we have to get them to turn over as much as possible.
Mrs. Bramlett Jr. says, now I'm remembering Jenna doing touch assists on the teddy bear.
Yeah.
Did you do that in a video?
Yeah, I did it on Growing Up in Polygamy with Graham the teddy bear.
Oh, that is so funny. Oh my God. Remember when, what was the name of that other, the true crime YouTuber that
Annie
you went with?
Elise? Yeah.
Annie Elise. And
Yeah.
then you did like a little demonstration of a touch assist on her and you said, feel my finger. And then she went like this.
Yeah.
That was so cute.
It was cute. That's how they keep you awake in a touch assist. You say, feel my finger, and you have to answer every time. You can't ever fully relax in a touch assist.
Exactly.
I sent you screenshots of the nervous cyst, but it's fine. You don't have to show them.
Screenshots of a nervous cyst?
Yeah, because you know how you have that assists book there that has all the Scientology assists?
You send it to me right now?
I sent it to you earlier before we started this.
Oh, it did not come through.
Oh, okay.
Oh, that's what you sent me. I didn't even see those.
Oh, okay.
Oh, do you want me to show these? This is kind of interesting.
You can
You want
just,
me to?
yeah, sure. They might be out of order.
Oh, it's going to do this thing where I've got to throw it into a folder first. All right, let me do that real quick. It'll take me 1 second.
Okay, all right. Yeah, so a few weeks ago when I was at Aaron's, I found this Scientology assist book, which has just like hundreds of assists you can do in Scientology, from anything from a fever to a toothache, to experiencing a loss. And I had this book when I was a little kid, and I like when I would go around asking kids if they were sick, I would give them the corresponding assists, and I took some pictures of it. And one of the main ones I would give is a nerve assist. That's something that all
good.
Scientologists know how to do, and a touch assist.
Sorry, I had to convert them to JPEGs for some reason.
Oh, no worries. They're not the best photos, but
What's that?
they're not the best photos. I didn't like edit them or anything, and you don't have to show them if it's too much of a pain. But I thought it might be an interesting thing to show, and also to see how sort of weird it might have felt for somebody who's not a Scientologist at all.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
All right, let's see. Okay, so this is the page showing the direction and motion that your hands are supposed to go.
Mm-hmm.
And then this is a page that is Scientology's depiction of the nervous system in the human body. Uh-oh, nutsack. And okay. And so basically you're supposed to lay on your stomach, and you're supposed to go 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. And then you're supposed to go down the arms. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, right? Or is it one on the arm? Can't remember.
And the legs too.
And the legs. And then you're supposed to say turn over.
Yeah.
On your back, and then you're supposed to go 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, and then arms and legs again, right?
Yeah, yeah, totally.
Yeah.
I mean,
And
I'm sure
just so
it
you know,
says it
this
in
is
the text
something.
there.
I'm sorry, what?
I sent you the text for the actual
I know, but I'm not going to pull all that up.
Okay, all right.
Yeah. And really, I mean, in Scientology, you're supposed to do this when you're in pain. I've never seen someone supposed to get a nerve assist or even a touch assist due to just mental distress or upset or sadness or grief. I mean, did you?
No, but I could see it being done for like if you've been up walking around looking for someone, if you just need help relaxing. So maybe it was like to address the physical part of it, not so much the grief part of it. Because I believe he said they did another assist that is in the book that talks about like a grief assist or something like that.
It was more like a loss of a person assist, like what's something that reminds you of her, what's something that doesn't remind you of her, or something like this.
Right, something like that. Yeah.
That's right. And so, but that was part of what made Brad so suspicious. Your connection is one of our connections is getting really spotty. Is that they were asking questions that to us, we can understand it's sort of part of a Scientology auditing process, but to them, it sounded like they were interrogating them for information they could use to keep Amy comfortable. Like, what's her favorite food? What's her favorite movies? And it's like, you're asking these questions of family members. The woman just went missing. Right. And you're almost like, the questions sound like, what can we do to keep her calm and happy so she doesn't try to escape?
Right. Yes. Yeah, exactly. I could totally see you feeling that way, but then knowing that it's an actual normal assist in Scientology is, crazy.
Yeah. And so, you said earlier that, well, you want to be charitable and not unkind to someone who's lost a sibling. I am also someone who has lost a sibling, and not just a sibling, but an identical twin brother. And, when I took my time to explain to Brad in the most calm, patient, thorough, and understanding way I could even have possibly tried to do.
Mm-hmm.
And then for him to find out that not only did I do that, but two other ex-Sea Org members who very much know what they're talking about and
Right.
would very much love for Scientology to be embarrassed by being involved in a missing persons case. When we all took the time to calmly and patiently and thoroughly explain this to him, and then he publicly thanked us, I got to tell you, when I then saw this other tweet, and again, you guys let me know, maybe I'm just sensitive to it, maybe I'm just taking it, personally. But when I saw this, and because he's responding to something about, oh, you should speak with Aaron. I spoke with Aaron several weeks ago, although he agreed that it was highly unusual that they would have come to our hotel room at midnight the night of Amy's disappearance. His opinion was that it would be unlikely they had anything to do with her disappearance. He was nice enough, but didn't offer much else. I got to tell you, I took offense to that.
Yeah.
What else am I supposed to do but answer your questions in the most thorough, honest way possible? Like, it's almost like, I expected more. And that's where where I go, what are you doing, dude? You actually seem committed to pushing a narrative that everyone is covering up the truth of Scientology's involvement in your sister's disappearance, when you already publicly acknowledge that after speaking with ex-Scientologists, the possibility of that happening is as close to zero as it can be, close enough to completely dismiss it as a possibility. And yet he still keeps reaching out to ex-Scientologists. He still keeps acting like his questions haven't been answered. And he throws shade at the people who've actually taken the time to thoroughly answer his questions. I mean, I've started to get a little I've started to get a little pissed off about this thing, because of course then people then keep coming to us acting like we're not helping this guy. And it's like, dude, why are you putting that out there into the world that you're not getting the help that you need, that you're not getting your questions answered? Like, what's your actual motivation?
Right. And you can see the first couple of comments are like, oh, I'm sorry they weren't as helpful as they could have been. So it's not just in your mind, it is actually saying that. And not only did he publicly thank you, Claire and Valeska and Tony Ortega, but privately, to me, he was like, oh, thank you so much. Tell Aaron I said hi. So it was just like this completely different vibe. One thing behind the scenes and then another thing publicly. It's just very odd. I don't really understand the intention behind it.
Yeah. You want me to show those messages just so people don't have to take our words for it?
Yeah, you can. I mean, there's nothing really private about them or nothing like that's bad or yeah.
And remember, this is after. So actually, let me go back to the Twitter. Let me see when he first publicly thanked us. It was July 21st. It was July 21st. And then an entire month later. By the way, is it possible this was after you started blowing up on TikTok?
I think it is. Yeah.
Right.
So this is like right after my first few TikToks, and then he reached out to me, and I have a feeling that he posted that thing on Twitter because people were telling him to reach out to me.
Okay, so a month after he already publicly thanked us for answering all of his questions, he reaches out to you. My name is Brad. I'm the brother of Amy Bradley. Have you seen my questions regarding my family's experience with the Sea Org? I mean, I'm going to read the rest of it, but I just have to stop right there. I remember when you sent this to me, I was like, why in the hell is he acting like, why does he keep reaching out to the most high profile ex-Scientologist he can to continue to get questions answered he's already even publicly acknowledged have been answered? Like, at this point, it seems like a clout chase, right?
Right.
Okay, so you go, hi, Brad, thanks for reaching out. I'm so sorry about your sister. I've seen your questions. Aaron Smith-Levin is my boyfriend, and I know you guys had spoken. So bizarre. I wish I could do more to help. I feel like he even mischaracterizes what you said there.
Right. Well, and I said you're my boyfriend because I was like, yeah, I don't know anything. I mean, I didn't want to be like, I was in the room when you guys spoke, but I was just trying to be like, yeah, we know the same things. Like, and I already know you guys had spoken.
Yeah. Right. Okay. So then he responds, oh, wow. Tell Aaron I said hi and thanks again. I appreciate him taking his time to talk to me. I understand. Thank you for responding. Yeah. I saw a comment from Northern Girl. I meant to start because she really kind of encapsulated what she thinks he's saying. Translation: he was nice enough, but he didn't tell me what I wanted to hear.
Mhm.
And it's like he's pretty much spoken to at least 4 of pretty much the most anti-Scientologists that exist. They
Right.
are all unanimous in
Mhm.
explaining that although it's unfortunate his sister disappeared, the chance
Mhm.
of Scientology having anything to do with this is pretty much 0. And then
Mhm.
he's like, they were nice enough, but couldn't really offer much else.
Right.
It's like, it does make me go, what is your deal? What are you trying to do?
Right.
Why do you keep trying to get your audience to feel like not even ex-Scientologists are helping you?
Right.
And you just can't get the information that you need. He said that he's recently learned the FBI didn't even investigate his concerns about Scientology. And I kind of go, how would he know what the FBI did or did not investigate? The truth is, the FBI understands Scientology and the free winds ship enough, in my opinion. It's not that they didn't investigate, it's that they know enough to have ruled it out.
Right.
What is there to investigate if those 2 women were not Sea Org members? What is there
Right.
to investigate when even Scientology admits those free winds cruise ship officers came to your hotel room? Like, on what grounds can you say they did not investigate? And yet that is what he says. Oh, they didn't even investigate.
Right. Totally. Yeah. I don't understand it.
Yeah. I don't really want to be harsh, but I feel harsh.
That's all
What are
right.
your thoughts on what how are you planning on addressing this in your TikTok today?
I think I was just gonna say, make it clear that it has been addressed. Like it has, because he's sort of making it sound like it hasn't been. I was just gonna be like, yes, these people have spoken to him. My boyfriend's spoken to him for hours. I was there. I know nothing else that could have anything to do with this. And I'm sorry for him and his family. But like, just to put it out there that no, we have spoken. And I mean, I haven't spoken to him, but he has spoken to you guys. I mean, you know more about it than I possibly could.
Right.
And
And
definitely.
also, I binge watched the documentary before I even spoke with him on the phone,
Right. Yes. Yeah. You're
just
the
to
one
make
who
sure
told
that
me
I
about
could
him.
address his concerns properly.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. You're the one who told me about him in the first place.
Yeah. And I had even offered to bring him on the channel and answer all of his questions publicly
Right.
so that the entire world who cared to see it
Right.
would have the opportunity to have all of their questions. Since he's the one putting it out there into the world that there are these questions, it was like, well, I can either answer your questions privately or we can actually do a video about it and get it all out there.
Right.
And
Exactly.
he chose not to do that.
Right.
And that's why I'm like, dude, like, I could have answered all your questions publicly, but now you're acting like we were barely helpful.
Right, exactly, yeah. So I don't know if it's, like, it sounding more suspicious or, like, there's a conspiracy, makes it sound more intriguing for people, makes it more exciting, but at that point, it just becomes like, it just feels manipulative, like, and as much as I feel horrible for his family, like, also, I'm not gonna take that, like, that's a misrepresentation, it's not okay. You were very helpful, so were many other people, and that's all there
Yeah.
is to it.
Yeah. And he keeps trying to tag Leah Remini in the tweets as well and be like, well, Leah's never responded to us. Leah's never responded to us. And I'm
Right,
like, well, if I was Leah, if I were Leah, I probably would respond. But,
right.
um, but it's like, why are you still trying to get Leah Remini to answer these questions when your questions have already been answered? At that point, that's where I go, are you really just clout chasing off of this thing? Like,
Right, exactly, yeah, and it's like, I guess it crosses a line of wanting us to make up that there is some sort of weird Scientology involvement, wanting us to like go along with this theory, which is actually, if we were to do that, it would be extremely destructive to you and I and the entire ex-Scientology movement, because all we have is our credibility. So it's not worth it to me or to you to just go along with it because it sounds bad and makes Scientology look suspicious. No, we save that credibility for things that actually happened, that we're certain about, that we know for a fact. And I guess that's where it becomes like this weird thing of like trying to lure you into saying something else. And I'm just not, I'm not down for that at all.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Anything else you want to say about this? Just checking.
No, I think that's pretty much it. I mean, I just think putting it out there that he has been helped and been spoken to in any way by many people, by in any way we possibly can, and that's all we can do. Beyond that, unfortunately, like I hope that he gets the closure that he needs. But unfortunately, that's not something that you or I or Claire or Valeska or Tony Ortega are able to give to him.
Yeah, true. I did watch the documentary and about her disappearance. The documentary is on Netflix for anyone that wants to watch it. I think it's just, let me double check the title. Amy Bradley, Netflix. It's called Amy Bradley is Missing. Yeah. And she went missing 27 years ago. And so I'm going to bring up this comment, but mostly because I'm not sure I agree with it, but let's talk about it. Tess Mack, he's not clout chasing. He's a desperate brother with no leads, no answers after 30 years. Imagine not knowing what happened that long. I think he doesn't realize how he's coming across, in my opinion. So the thing is, I don't think after 30 years you are desperate. I don't think that's a feeling. I don't think that's a feeling that can, I mean, in my personal opinion, desperation is not what lingers after 27 years and an investigation and a Netflix documentary. I don't feel like desperation is the feeling that lingers. It's not true that there's no leads. It's not true that there's no answers. And there's some crimes for which you will never actually know what happens. But that was sort of the purpose of the documentary, was to lay out the evidence. And what's interesting is that the vast majority of the feedback that Brad Bradley gets on the social media platforms is that many people who've watched the documentary, even though the documentary wants you to believe that a particular member of the crew was responsible for her abduction, the vast majority of the people who watch this documentary come away from it thinking she obviously fell overboard drunk from the ship. Now, I would say nothing is obvious when it comes to this because it's not obvious. But the window in which she was seen to last seen is so small that, and she was out on the balcony of the cabin and she was very drunk and her flip-flops were left behind and her cigarettes were left behind. And so many of the viewers of the documentary I have seen in the comment section being like, she obviously fell overboard. Okay. So I'm just throwing it out there that it's not like there's no reasonable possible explanation for what could have possibly happened to Amy Bradley. Now, people say, well, if she fell overboard, they would have found her body along the rocks. And you go, if, there's a million reasons why you would possibly never find the body. But the one thing, after having watched the documentary, I felt one obvious question that I felt was not answered was that, is there a camera? Is there a camera on there? You can only exit these boats from one area. There's only one way to get off the boat. For a passenger to get off the boat. Are there not cameras right there? Are there not now? I realize the security systems on these ships might have been different 27 years ago than they are now, but are there not? Are we to believe the investigators did not have the ability to go back through the certain period of time, and visually confirm the identity of every single person who got off that boat? Now, getting off the boat is what matters, not getting on. Okay. So it's like she either walked off the boat or she was taken off in a suitcase. It's one of those two things. She either walked off the boat on her own power, even if she was being abducted by someone. She either walked off that boat on her own power, or she fell off the boat, or she left in a suitcase. There's only 3 options. And I can tell you that the documentary did not clearly address how or even whether the authorities determined if she walked off the boat or not.
Right.
I honestly watched the whole thing and I was still left with that question. Like, I'm sorry, how do they not know if she walked off the boat? I never heard them say, we definitively proved she did not walk off the boat, and therefore we think she was dragged out in a suitcase. And you're like, okay, if she was dragged out in a suitcase, that's much more likely to happen dead than alive. Okay. Like, you kill someone, you stuff them in a suitcase and you take them off, as one does.
Yeah.
What are the chances of putting a live person into a suitcase? You would have had to knock her out first, which, okay, that's possible. But they're not even, the documentary didn't even address which one of these things the investigators are thinking happened. Because I can tell you, the family believes she's alive. It's not that the family believes she's missing and dead. The family believes that she's alive and has been sold, basically into, the sex worker trade or whatever on the islands of. And I'm like, okay, what was my point here? Oh, that this investigation has been going on for 30 years. And it's just not the case that there's no idea what could have possibly happened to her. Right. And when the FBI didn't really take the Scientology thing seriously, when the documentarians didn't really take the Scientology thing seriously, and when ex-Scientologists who would love for this to be true explain to you all the reasons why it's almost certainly not true, I just don't feel like desperation is what we're dealing with here.
Right. Yeah. And just in the same vein of sort of like casting suspicion for the sake of intrigue, I mean, wasn't it the case in the documentary where it made it sound like Amy's father was not very accepting of her because she was gay, but then as it turned out that she was actually on the ship with her boyfriend. And so it's just like interesting how something terrible can happen, but then it can almost just be used for headlines, even though there is more information there, or how the public can be a little bit manipulated or not be given certain information in order to keep it alive, and like there's some big conspiracy when it often is just like, well, not the case in the case of Scientology and this other example I just gave. It's just comes across as a little bit disingenuous and manipulative.
Exactly. And I think it's interesting that the documentary crew was willing, the crew, the producers, the director, the editors, they were willing to insert a narrative into the documentary that would actually cast suspicion at her father.
Right.
But weren't willing to insert a narrative that would cast any suspicion on Scientology. So they already showed they're willing to massage the narrative. So yeah, the documentary absolutely pushed a narrative that Amy's father was very angry and upset and ashamed at her being gay. And, they even interviewed 1 or 2 of her ex-girlfriends. And it turns out at the time of the cruise, she had broken up with any girls that she was dating, and she had a boyfriend at the time. So it's like, and also her and her dad had already squashed him being upset about her being bisexual. And so I don't remember if the boyfriend may not have been actually on the cruise, but he is featured in some of the photographs that they show of Amy.
Mhm.
And they actually interviewed the boyfriend for the documentary
Mhm.
and cut him out. and
Yeah.
and so and push this narrative that the father was so angry at her being gay that he might have killed her. And it's like, dude, if the producers are going to push that bullshit narrative,
Mhm.
maybe there's a reason they even thought the Scientology thing was a bridge too far.
Yeah, yeah. It's just crazy that how much narratives can be manipulated just for the sake of a Netflix show, just for the sake of a story arc and building stakes, whether it's like just shows that it's like whatever you play to will, I don't know, like keep intrigue and will keep people paying attention. And unfortunately, it's just a bit of a manipulation.
Yeah. Yep. All righty.
And
Well,
so I
this is
feel like, sorry, just to say one last thing. So I feel like that's what this last tweet feels like. It's like in that same vein. It's acting like there's still some sort of suspicion or still that they wouldn't give me much else. That's manipulation and it's not true. And it's
That's right.
weird.
That's right. Yeah.
And it's
There
at the
we go.
expense of other people, which is not cool.
That's right. It's a really good point. And so, you've got the documentary crew that are
Mhm.
sort of manipulating people into believing a certain thing,
Mhm.
but you've got Brad Bradley doing the exact same thing to ex-Scientologists on
Right.
the subject of Scientology. And so
Right.
that's all of that is why I do have a bit of a chip on my shoulder about this, because it's like, dude, this is what you're doing to people who actually tried to help you.
Right.
The fuck, dude? That's
Yeah.
super
Yeah.
weird.
Right. Totally. It is.
All right, sweetie. Are we? Yeah, the connection seems to be getting worse and worse. I don't know why. Are you on Wi-Fi or are you plugged in?
I am on Wi-Fi. Sorry.
Well, it's weird because I'm actually on Wi-Fi too, even though I am plugged in. When I'm on both, I never know which one it defaults to.
Huh. Yeah, I can't even plug in from where I'm at in here. I need to pass a wire through the ceiling and stuff. I haven't done that yet. Or I need to plug in this Wi-Fi extender that's sitting on the floor right there that I have no idea how to connect up.
All right, everybody. There's going to be more happening later today. Of course, we've got our Friday evening protest happening in about 4 hours or so. And I've got another video I'm going to squeeze in before then. So thank you all for hanging out with us, and stay tuned for much more to come. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Okay, if you want to see my rock and roll songs, click right on this guitar. And if you want to see a different one of my videos, oh, dancing by my love, then you could click right inside here. If you have subscribed or not, subscribe right